All right, I think we can get this started. Again, thank you everyone for joining. I don't know from which time zone you folks are dialing in, but good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Super excited about this launch webinar today. It's the latest from Cast AI. We are launching a containers and Kubernetes security solution. Uh, if you have any audio issues or video issues, please let me know in comments. And let's get this started. Before we do, two important takeaways I want you to remember: current challenges and why we are focused on automated response and remediation for Kubernetes security, and how Cast AI is different from existing solutions. A little bit about me. My name is Giri, and it's been almost 2 months since I joined Cast AI. I'm very happy to be here. And my background is I'm an engineer turned product marketeer. So and my focus is on networking, security, and anything cloud related. And my passion is all about customer experience, how customers derive value from technology products. So today's agenda, we'll have a very short introduction about Kubernetes and container security, the challenges, why current solutions are difficult to use, what are the challenges in Kubernetes itself when it comes to security, and I'll cover what Cast AI is doing for solving these challenges. And the most exciting part of today, I'll show you a demo. We're not just going to talk for 1 hour. I will show you how the product looks and Q&A. Feel free to ask questions anytime. You can post it on Zoom, and I'll be happy to answer. I'll pause in between. I'll take a few breaks in between and ask questions. All right, let's get this started. All right, so introduction, definition about Kubernetes security. As you can see, the source is from an AI tool, because there are so many definitions out there. People get confused. Vendors have their own interpretation of what a Kubernetes or container security platform is. So very, very high level, it refers to practices, best practices, tools, and measures implemented to protect Kubernetes clusters, containers, and applications. And what are you protecting it from? Potential threats and vulnerabilities. All right. Before we get started with the actual slides, there's one poll, quick question. I know there are a lot of folks who are interested in Kubernetes and container security. What is the primary security concern in your organization today? So there are three options for you. You could select all three or whichever is relevant to you today. Just give maybe 30 seconds for you to complete this. And I promise this is the only poll, so we'll get started with the presentation. Cool. All right. I see the results. Very interesting, very balanced results. There are a lot of folks here new to Kubernetes security. You're not aware of the risks and misconfigurations. Aligns with all the reports and studies that have come out. Too many CVEs to fix. We will address that. All right. So why are we talking about Kubernetes security today? You can see some data here, but there's another important data that I've not shown, because Kubernetes adoption is almost at 96%. If you're familiar with the CNCF, Cloud Native Compute Foundation report, they do an annual survey, and the 2024 report says that the adoption is almost at 96%. So we have crossed the adoption chasm. And the stats that you see here, 67, 46, and 42%, these are from the State of Kubernetes Security Report from Red Hat. And what it shows is 67% of organizations delay putting their app in production because of security concerns. The 20% of the vote today came from people who said, we are new to Kubernetes, we are not aware of what the security risks are. So why do organizations need a Kubernetes and container security solution? We'll rewind a bit uh, back and talk about cloud security. So we're not talking only about Kubernetes, but just cloud. When the public cloud was built, folks at AWS, Google, Azure, they made it very clear. So they said, we know security is important, but we will not be responsible for the entire security of your application. We will provide infrastructure security wherever possible, but rest is in your hands. So they called it the shared security model. And let's shift to Kubernetes. Back in 2015, 2016, 2014, I'm not sure about the exact year when it came out, but let's assume 2015. So it's a completely different story. The team that built Kubernetes would have never thought that it would go mainstream, and companies will actually use it for production grade applications. So security was never given a thought. It's still a black box for many users. When they start with Kubernetes, it's still a black box and they're not sure what's going on. And Kubernetes security is still at its infancy. So this is why it's very important to talk about security. And why is it hard? So there are two types of challenges. One could be technical and the others could be organization challenges, depending on what size of company you come from. So on the technical challenges, Kubernetes was built as an open source platform, and most software and tools in that ecosystem, if you go to CNCF, you'll see all the ecosystem tools in cloud native in the cloud native world. Most of it is open source, which is not the best case scenario for security. We've heard this before, and I was shocked when I came to find out that some containers have a lifespan of just few minutes. So this is a real problem when it comes to security. The security world has never heard of anything like that. How do you think about context? How do you get access to a container that is not there anymore, but which was compromised? So how do you track a malicious activity? All this is super hard in the container world. And when it comes to organizational challenges, there's a huge gap between academic and working knowledge of containers and Kubernetes security. There's lots of studies, lots of reports and blogs, but when it comes to the actual work, the ground, actual, battlefield, people still are not sure what to do. It's a fairly new platform, it's a new technology, so even the best security teams find it hard to fix this gap. And we know in the cloud native world, security has been offloaded, not in all organizations, but in most companies, it's been offloaded to the DevOps team, or there's no security teams at all in some smaller companies. So those are the challenges, and I'm going to rewind a little bit to traditional security. We've seen, if you're not familiar with what a SOC is, if you're not familiar with what a SOC engineer would typically do, we'll talk about traditional security organizations. So we have a SOC here as a SOC engineer or a user at the leftmost corner. So what do? They look at these big screens, they get continuous feed of activity. So when it comes to tooling, they have host-based, network-based sensors. You would have heard of EDRs, NDRs, the CrowdStrikes and Palo Alto of the world, fancy IDS and IPS systems and SIEMs. All these feed information to a centralized hub. You see the red across the box in the center. And what this engineer does is analyze data. So once there is a high priority or a malicious activity or any vulnerability identified, the SOC user raises a ticket, a Jira ticket, and the developer is assigned to work on it and fix it. But things are different in the cloud native world. DevOps engineers are taking additional responsibility, like I mentioned, for security tooling. There's one good thing, though. The collaboration between developers and DevOps is tightly coupled, unlike the SOC engineer. But the volume of security issues is exponentially higher. I'll show you a simple dashboard during my demo, and you will see that a very simple 2-node, 3-node cluster will have thousands of vulnerabilities. But we at Cast AI, we have identified this as a bottleneck in the CI/CD pipeline, and we eliminated the problem of resource management. Our traditional, if you're familiar with Cast AI and what we do, we eliminated the problem of resource management with CPUs and memory utilization through automation. And what we intend to do is the same thing with security. All right, so you might be wondering, hey, you guys are announcing a security product, we've heard of Wiz, we've heard of Sysdig, Palo Alto. There are a lot of players out there in the market. What's different? So there are some, shortcomings from the current landscape. Uh, Most organizations are operating on a tight budget. We know that. So budgeting for security is hard. So when we initially started working with some of our existing customers, when we started building the security product, we asked them about their experience with their current cloud security tools. And apart from some technical challenges, one thing they noticed was how expensive it was. It could quickly ramp up to thousands and millions of dollars. Another factor, especially concerning where the blind spots might crop up, is if your solution is not a native Kubernetes tool, that is, your security solution is not a native Kubernetes tool, you have to manually add your clusters, work with multiple teams. There could be test teams where they wouldn't even tell you that they are running Kubernetes. Make sure every cloud, every environment where Kubernetes is running is brought to your attention. And we've also seen multiple reports, studies, surveys that come out with one result, which is alert fatigue. When it comes to security, everyone is talking about it. Why? Because the attack surface in Kubernetes and cloud is so huge. Every small component lends itself to an alert. And in the end, who's dealing with all this mess? The overworked DevOps team. The solution from Cast is envisioned to remove the need to integrate with a SOAR or a SIEM platform. Every tool out there says, hey, we integrate with the SOAR, we integrate with the SIEM. But what do they do? Ultimately, it's the human that needs to bear the brunt of this integration. We shouldn't need a human to remediate simple security tasks. So our plan is to tackle this problem with automation. I'll leave a short pause to see if there are any questions so far. I hope it's been clear, the challenges and the current solution. All right, so let's pivot to Cast AI. What are we launching? What are we doing about Kubernetes security? So we are launching a Kubernetes security and container security platform. We do automated Kubernetes security posture management. I didn't mention KSPM, but this is automated KSPM. But then I'm afraid some of you wouldn't have or not would not be familiar with that term. It's a Gartner terminology. A lot of people use it. You have definitely heard of CSPM, and KSPM is very similar, just that it focuses more on Kubernetes specific misconfigurations and compliance standards. It's also a DevSecOps or DevOps focused security automation platform, and it's cost effective when you use it with Cast AI, and we can automatically detect, remediate, and mitigate threats. Let's see how we do that. There, this is the architecture pillar or the feature listing of what we have. So we categorize our features into three pillars, which is vulnerability management, runtime security, and compliance. Let's go through. Let me just click and just show you everything and then talk about what we have. So Cast AI, we really breathe automation into every solution that is built. Our approach to vulnerability management is not just to bombard users with tons of CVs. You might have seen that happen with a lot of solutions out there. We just don't list every detail without providing a basis to list this. We do detect and report every vulnerability in every layer. You will see that in the demo and every image. But what we want you to focus is on the things that are important, which is why I've listed something called the attack path visualization. You might have seen this elsewhere. You might be familiar with it, but I'll show you during the demo why it's one of our flagship features. And to that effect, we also do the traditional scanning of first and third party images. We provide detailed CV information, all the relevant steps. You'll see a lot of details in that dashboard. And as a user, you don't need to scan anything. When it comes to the actual user experience, you don't need to install a plugin. You don't need to download a scanner, blah, blah, blah. You don't need to scan anything manually or run any commands. So once you enable security on the product, everything is automatically run. All right, when it comes to runtime security, only a handful of companies in the world have successfully built runtime detection engine using eBPF. if you're not familiar with eBPF, very quick, 1 or 2 line sentence is that it's like imagine it's a mini program or a software running in your Linux kernel, and it'll get you access to low-level signals like uh, syscalls or processes or network activities that are happening within your kernel. And with eBPF, what you can do is find these anomalies happening within your workload or within your container. So we have leveraged eBPF to find anomalies within your application workloads. Past AI, we've been using eBPF for a while now, for a couple of years, and built this runtime engine based on that. And I'll also show you how these runtime rules can be written, what already comes with the product, so that you don't need to, start writing your own rules, and we can actually get started with out-of-the-box rules. And our solution also addresses another pain point that most teams fairly new to Kubernetes, I know some of you have said yes to that, is how do you deal with misconfigurations? The CIS benchmarks or CIS benchmark is an industry standard that we have integrated with. And based on the type of Kubernetes service you're running, could be GKE or Azure or AWS, Cast AI will alert you on any configuration issues that are risky from a security standpoint. Finally, during the demo, I'll also cover the node OS rotation, which is super interesting and very useful if you're dealing with compliance issues, if you're dealing with manual node rotation. This is something truly unique to Cast AI, and this will actually speed up your compliance requirements. So this is what we have, and the future of Cast AI, how does it look? The roadmap ahead for our security solution is to invest in shift left automation. You would have heard of shift left. What is shift left automation? What does it mean? It means we don't want to tell you, hey, DevOps, we found a vulnerable image. Go ahead and use this less risky image. We have something called base image recommendation, which already is an amazing solution, so that you don't have to go and research on which image to use. But we want to eliminate all of that. We're going to empower the tool to do an automatic pull request. In this diagram, you see the pull request, which happens in a CI/CD pipeline, but we're going to do that automatically. Find the Docker file, streamline the whole developer approval process so that fixes automatically applied. And as a user, once you see the difference or delta of before and after vulnerability, it's going to lift a huge burden and change the way the whole vulnerability management is addressed today. All right, so coming to the benefits, why should you use Cast AI? What do you get? So the best part about using Cast AI for security is that when we perform cost monitoring and optimization, which is what we've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years, we provide this simple, easy script to run in your environment. It's just how you implement the security solution. And then we get embedded into your Kubernetes infra layer, which is not something that most security solutions will do. It's basically acting as a proxy Kubernetes orchestrator that runs in a leaner fashion because we optimize CPU and memory for you. Imagine you get security functionality with this lean orchestrator. So that's what Cast AI can do for you. That's the number one benefit. And for existing customers or new customers, enabling security is very simple. I told you it's just like a click of a button. We just provide you with one command. And since we have visibility into all the nodes, workloads, all the entire cluster or all your clusters, there's no question of security blind spots. You don't have to say, hey, we have a team. We are not sure if they are part of our org in Cast AI. We just cover everything. And if you have questions about performance overhead or cost, you don't have to worry about it. The agent is lightweight. I mentioned about eBPF. eBPF is known to be a very lightweight agent. It doesn't add latency or performance overhead. And if you are currently using Cast, the new KSPM platform, the new Kubernetes security platform, is an out-of-the-box solution. So you don't have to go through different permission models. You can integrate this product with existing permission model. So that's another great benefit if you're already a Cast customer. We are almost at the end of the presentation because I am going to show you the best part, which is the demo. But before we go there, I don't know if, okay, I think, yeah, there's the final slide before the demo. So we already have few customers using the security product, and Hugging Face, which is the most popular AI marketplace company, they tried our product and they were blown away how we could actually detect and block 20 times more than popular solutions out there. They were seeing a lot of threat activity within their environment, and the current solution that they had was a couple of things. They were one super expensive. They tried our product. They saw more threats within their environment, and there were instances where malicious actors would use crypto miners within their app, and the current solution could not detect all of that, and it was an expensive solution for them. So don't take my word for it. We have someone from a huge company. They've deployed a lot of security solutions in their environment, and they came up with this code. So there you go. All right. So who's ready for demo? You can, if you have any questions uh, on things that I've discussed so far, please feel free to post your questions. But let's get on to the demo. Going to stop sharing here and go to a different window. All right. I'm assuming you should be able to see uh, the Cast AI product, the dashboard. If not, please let me know in the comments. Cool. So this is the security dashboard. I'll actually go a step uh, back and show you what the Cast AI landing page will look like. So here you'll see all the clusters. So this is a very simple demo environment. I just have one cluster here, Cast AI demo. So for cost optimization, you would have seen something very similar. So I click on the cluster and you see all the dashboard related to cost monitoring, but let's go to security here. So we have the security dashboard. This will quickly show you the overall security posture, like compliance here with the SIS benchmark that I spoke about, vulnerability management. Actually, let me just pull this up here. Okay, so I can actually see the camera too. All right, so yep, like I mentioned, you will see, oh, sorry about that. I'm getting a message that we are not able to see. All right. Cool. So someone is excited to see the dashboard. All right. So this is the posture management dashboard. You can see compliance here. You see immediately that two nodes are non-compliant. There are some workloads that have critical, high, not critical, but high and medium issues. There is a report that you can download. There are reports. So once you click on report, you'll actually go into each of these features here. So this is vulnerability management. You can see the most vulnerable image repositories and uh, how much does it. So it shows 2,500 medium, 1,000 high, and 154 critical. And as I mentioned, this is just a very simple cluster. You all might be familiar with the online boutique, the hipster shop cluster that GCP or Google Cloud has. So this is a cluster running that application. Very simple, lightweight application. Imagine an actual production environment would probably have 10x or 20x this, whatever numbers that you're seeing here. So how do you deal with these many CVs? Uh, so that's one thing. And you see something called the attack path, the anomalies, node OS update. And this here managed by Cast AI tells you if your nodes are managed by Cast or not. and update schedule. I'll go through this. I'll show you what those things mean. Let's go into this one by one. So most security demos that you would have seen so far, how do they start? They'll start with this dashboard and immediately go to, hey, vulnerabilities. We can scan so many things. We have your company is, bad security, has bad security posture. You have so many vulnerable image. You should tell your developers to go and fix these. We take a different approach. So what we do is you might have these different images. You could have, let's say, this Go vulnerable image with so many CVEs here. But what we actually are interested in is attack paths. Again, since this is a simple demo environment, don't think that you will have only 3 attack paths. You might be exposing more workloads, more applications to the internet. So what you see here is the workloads or the container or the image, whatever, that is exposed to the internet, which has the more risk attached to it. So let me click on one of them to show you what that means. So you have the internet, you have a service. Like this could be different in your environment. There could be a Nginx ingress controller. You could have your own type of service. However, you're exposing the workload to the internet. There is a deployment here. This is the container and the actual image that the container is using. So this is a visual representation of how your vulnerable image is exposed to the internet. And it could have multiple connections in between. So this could, for example, here, so this has a deployment with 2 containers and 2 image. I mean, could probably use the same image, but you see you get what I see, right? So this is what we want you to focus on. First, fix this. So when it comes to people talk about prioritization so often in security conversations, but what is prioritization? You actually prioritize fixing the most risky workloads or vulnerabilities. So you see the image here, and you see the different CVEs associated with this image. So as a user, what would you do? You would want to go and fix this image first. So if you click on this, it'll open up another window, show you the actual image. So instead of clicking on the vulnerabilities menu and showing how that looks, I've done something different where I go to the attack path and I'm showing you how a particular image in your attack path looks like. So you have all these vulnerabilities. So you have different layers within your image and shows how many CVEs are present in each layer. So these are dependencies. There could be your app layer and everything. And affected resources. You're not going to use just one workload with this image. There could be multiple. So everything here is like super detailed. You click on one CVE, you get a quick overview of what the CVE means. You have a score. All this, is uh, table stakes with most other solutions. There is a patch available, affected version. You have more information about if you want to read more about what this, let's say there's a log4j, you want to read more about that. So you have resources here to uh, understand what this particular CVE will mean. Oh, of course, you could create exceptions. So let's say you're running this image in a test environment. You don't really care if this CV is present because you're not exposing this workload to the internet. You could add an exception to this saying it's an acceptable risk. I'm okay with that. So that when you're presenting this to your, higher ups, you don't have to tell them, hey, I have so many CVs to deal with. All right, so might actually go back and forth a little bit here. So we've covered all this, the CV information. And if you go back to the attack path, what you want to do is fix this first, right? So you clicked on that image, you go to this image. What is the next step? You want to find an image that has lower or zero vulnerabilities. Most likely zero is like the best case scenario, but most likely you would want to go with an image that has lower vulnerabilities. With most solutions, what you'll have to do is do it on your own. But we have something called base image recommendation, which will actually show an image that will have much fewer vulnerabilities. So in this case, Your current base image is a Debian 10.13 with 142 vulnerabilities. A recommended base image with Debian 12 Slim will have 72. So in this case, you're not actually eliminating it completely, but you're you know almost lowering it by 50%. So which is a good start. Uh, there's a lot more work to do, but it's a good start. So the roadmap that I was talking about will automatically pick this base image up, apply it to your Docker file, and then you don't even have to you know look at this because hey, you've given me a base image recommendation. Next step is for me to do this manually, but that's what we're trying to solve here. All right, so we've seen the attack path and what it can do for you. Focus on the most important risk. So I'll go back to vulnerabilities, spend maybe a few more minutes here. So you can do a lot more. So it's a rich feature. You can search for image name with package. There is a if you have multiple clusters, you can pick and choose which cluster that you want. If you have different namespaces, let's say I go to an app that I built and want to see images only in that app, you can select those filters. There's lots of label filters here. So it's not just the windows that I showed previously, but lots to do with just vulnerability management itself. Let me remove this. Apply. Okay. So it can also show you exceptions. So if you've created some exceptions, you want to go back and see that exception. Once you create it, you can actually filter with the exception too. So scan status. So it's continuously scanning. Like I mentioned, you don't have to, if you see there's no button, nothing for you to enable scan. So everything is being scanned continuously. So uh, you don't have to there's no user intervention. Um, Let me see if I missed anything here. The list. So you can do a lot of, sort by critical high number of vulnerabilities. And so this is running in two resources here. This is the cluster number one. I think I've covered most of it under vulnerabilities here. All right, so let's look at something else. Let's go to runtime. So why do you need runtime security? You might think, hey, you know, um, let me show you this example of why you need runtime security. I'm going to go to the workloads. Um, I'm searching for a Jupyter notebook. All right. So this example will show you why you would need runtime security. So let's assume you're using an image, say Jupyter under crypto. So forget the crypto part of it. This because I named it for this demo. You can see here there's no vulnerabilities. You're thinking, hey, I'm in good shape. I can use this image. I'll be safe. What might happen is in the build time, you're good to go. But during runtime, what can happen is once you start this Jupyter notebook, during runtime, there could be uh, some kind of a code in your Jupyter notebook that can actually start a crypto miner within your environment. And how do you detect that? So this is where runtime security is important because we have enabled uh, crypto mining command line arguments here in our environment. I'm going to pause here because I think there are a couple of questions. At this moment. All right. So we've enabled crypto mining rule in this rule window. And what you can actually see is this particular workload, um, this Jupyter, this particular app has a workload that is connecting to the internet. And during runtime, someone is when someone is running all these commands in the Jupyter notebook, it's actually trying to connect to a crypto mining tool. And how do you know this is happening? Unless you have a runtime engine that can detect this, you're not going to catch this with just scanning your Jupyter image. So what this runtime will show you, you can actually go to this alert or whatever in multiple ways. Let me show you how you go through that from the runtime menu here, and then show you other things later. So if you look at this anomaly, so it's trying to connect to a crypto mining server. There's some DNS information that we've got. So there's an XMRig, it's the most common way of crypto mining server that it's trying to connect, and we've actually detected that. There's also other rules that you can enable. So you drop a new binary into your environment. Um, this is going to throw an anomaly. You can turn this off or on depending on your environment, but just an example. So when you actually enable Cast AI security, you get these out of the box. You don't have to write any of these rules. You can just enable or disable the rule based on what you need. So you have a set of 18 rules, and 18 rules doesn't mean 18 instances. It's like different variations of the rule. So it's all written in a language called CEL. I don't know how many here are familiar with it. I think it's called Common Expression Language. It's not super difficult to understand. So it looks something like this. Actually, yeah, I can actually show you. So this is the rule name. You can enable or disable the rule. You can set your own severity based on the rule. So let's say you have drop new binary. You're dropping a binary and there's a container drift. You don't have to make this critical. You can actually make it low or even none so that you don't need to worry about this. So this is the rule. You can create custom labels here. So apart from the out of the box rules, you can also create your own rule. Like I mentioned, you can write it in common expression language. There's a documentation. So if you click on docs here, we provide you information on how to write these rules. So you could uh, go to town, write your own rules, do whatever you want, and Cast AI will support that. You'll get your alerts, you'll get your events based on these runtime anomalies. So these are the events based on the anomalies that are detected. So that is runtime. All right. So one final thing. Okay, just for visualization, just to make things super simple and easy to navigate, I actually love this piece of feature functionality here called workloads. So you have different workloads in your environment. You just want to focus on, let's say, checkout service and see if everything is safe there. Click on checkout service. So everything under security, like compliance. Hey, is my security the checkout service uh, uh, application, the workloads, are they in good shape? No, I don't think, because I have two checks here. Ensure that service account tokens are only mounted where necessary. So this is a check that has failed, and we give you the rationale, the impact, and also how to remediate this. So speaking about this compliance, I forgot to mention that you could actually do this in attack path because there was so much that is part of this attack path. I actually forgot to show this awesome feature. Let's take this as an example. So I showed how we looked at how just clicking on this image, going to the image, and fixing all the vulnerabilities there is probably the best way to start your security posture journey. But it's not just the image vulnerabilities. Go to this deployment, because the reason I mentioned do this on the attack path first is that because this is exposed to the internet. There's high risk of someone exploiting this. So it's not just the image. You can actually the entire path. You can check whether everything is secured. So this deployment actually has two medium severity checks that has failed. So what is going on here? Ensure that service account tokens are only mounted in pods except where the workload's running. So you can fix this. Um, the same, I think it's the same thing here. And then you go to service, no fail checks, which is good. But let's go to other attack paths. Maybe take this one, for example. So there's an Nginx service running here. Let's see if everything is good there. No. So there's something, the default namespace should not be used. So make sure that you create a separate namespace or put this in a separate namespace. So that's a, sys benchmark standard that has failed here. So this is what I meant by remediation and prioritization. It's not just, give a dashboard of provide a dashboard which shows all these compliance issues and vulnerabilities. It's actually fix the ones that are most necessary and most critical first. All right. So we saw the attack path, runtime, and then workloads, like I mentioned. So let's go back to the payment service or checkout service, whatever it could be. So everything that is part of, let's say compliance or images that is part of the payment service. Do I have any runtime anomalies in this service? No, that's good. Any attack path? No, that's good. So this is something that I really like because you can go workload by workload. You could also, if you're sharing this with the rest of your team, if there is a dev person who owns a particular workload and you want to make sure that his or her application, the piece that they own is built in good security standing, you could, work with your team using this. All right, finally, Node OS updates. All right, before we jump on to Q&A, I'll just finish this Node OS updates and then we can take questions. So Node OS updates, you might have seen this with GKE or AKS. They do provide some kind of support for Node OS, automatic Node OS updates, but no, let's face it, if you're in a true multi-cloud environment, you don't have any support for this. Since you're already managing rest of your clusters and nodes, why not do this with Cast AI? Because we have uh, rebalancer features that could really work hand in hand with this Node OS update. So one thing is, again, this is probably not the best demo environment to show because we don't have anything greater than 1 month or less than 1 week. We have two nodes that are within 1 to 4 weeks, which is okay in terms of compliance. But let's say for PCI, you should not be running any nodes that are greater than 1 month. So your PCI check is going to fail if you're running anything greater than 1 month. And what you can do here with Cast is you can actually schedule updates. You can maybe start running these nodes on spot instances or on demand, doesn't matter. But you could actually create a schedule and update these nodes automatically. So there's no manual intervention. You can either do it in standard time zone based execution or create a cron tab. um, it's up to you, but then what you basically do is I'll show you a example of a schedule that you can create. So security node update schedule, any type of node. You can have a minimum node age. You can create, you can pick and choose between days and number of hours or whatever. Uh, you can also select an algorithm for the highest normalized CPU or the least utilized CPU. And then let's say every week, because it repeats every 1 week in this time zone on Sunday, automatically patch this node with the latest update that you get. So that's also a great security use case if you're managing hundreds or thousands of nodes. You can't do this manually. It would take a full, one employee's worth of work to do this. So let me stop here, pause, and then see if we have any questions. So I spoke about this one question about how we are different from vendors like Wiz and Aqua. So I mentioned a few challenges that you have with Wiz, Aqua, or Sysdig, those kind of solutions. But here's the thing. So we focus on Kubernetes security. With Wiz or Aqua, they're probably doing a broader solution for CSPM or cloud security. So we are not here to replace every other cloud security tool out there. What we specialize in is Kubernetes security at this moment. And we could be a complementary tool because there are a lot of advantages. One is the pricing model. The other is the lightweight solution. Everything comes out of the box. Since you might be new to Kubernetes, you might not have the budget to probably have another security engineer look just to look at your Kubernetes security. You might have other priorities in your business that does not let you focus on Kubernetes security. So everything, we're trying to take the bulk of work away from the DevOps person and trying to automate security here. So that's one huge advantage. Everything comes out of the box. You don't need to manually configure anything. If you're not very sure about how runtime works, we've got prepackaged rules already as part of the product. So that's how we differentiate from Wiz, and we also complement with solutions like Wiz and Aqua. And things like Node OS updates, you would probably not get with solutions like Wiz or Palo Alto or Aqua. So those are some of the differentiation, but there's a lot more if you just talk about prioritization and remediation. Another question is, I think I covered this with eBPF a little bit, performance hit or cost hit when you're running runtime solutions. So runtime is an intensive, performance intensive uh, feature to run. But again, when we use eBPF, it makes it really lightweight and it doesn't add much. I mean, the benefit that you get out of running eBPF is far more greater than not having a runtime solution. Let me see if there's other questions. But the demo part is done. So feel free to post your questions if you have any. Within the product, I can show you if I've missed. I might have definitely missed on few things to show because there's a whole lot of features available here. So please do let me know. Actually, thinking about that, I was just looking at the dashboard here, and most questions around integration are, hey, do you integrate with Jira? Yes, we do. I forgot to mention that. So if you like the uh, you know I shouldn't say traditional, but if you like the way of doing things with Jira or any other Slack integration, we do provide Jira for now, uh, where you could actually assign a ticket. So let's say you find this vulnerability. I've not enabled Jira here, but you could. It'll create a ticket automatically, and you could write your own comments within the ticket, telling the developer to use this base image. You can actually pick this and say, hey, why don't you use this base image and fix this? So that's one thing I forgot to mention. All right. Do you detect crypto mining activity? I think the answer is yes. And I think I already showed that in the demo itself. So I might have missed this question. How can I enable the runtime options? It is not available on my dashboard. So talk to us, get in touch with us through email or Slack support, wherever you are. Wherever your support, however your support system is currently designed. I'm not exactly sure because, please excuse me, because I've been here only for 2 months. I'm not sure about if you're a current customer or if you're trying the product out. If it's not available, it might be behind a feature flag. So please get in touch with our sales team or support team, and they will definitely help you with enabling runtime option. All right, so auto remediation recommendation beyond base image, package dependency conflict resolution. A bunch of words thrown in there, but as of now, the way we do auto remediation is through base image recommendation. But as I mentioned, the product roadmap looks super interesting with the automated Docker file uh, update process. So that's what I meant by auto remediation. And the security world is not ready for a complete automation because we've seen that none of the other solutions like SOAR has not really picked up. They've been talking about automation for a while, but none of the solutions are being able to crack that piece. But we are working on it. We will deliver. Can you please go through cost monitoring if you have some time? Sorry about not covering this, but We will definitely encourage you to either, you know, talk to, contact us, even talk to one of the uh, staff from Cast AI. This webinar was Yeah, this webinar was focusing on security launch. I'm sorry I couldn't cover cost today because that was not part of the agenda. I would encourage you to also go to the website and see if there were any past events. We just finished an event, a webinar about 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago. So I would encourage you to go and watch that. If not, please send us an email. We will share resources. We are out of time really, and I'm sorry I saw this question only now. Uh, we will definitely be able to help you with any kind of resource you want with respect to cost monitoring. And it's cost monitoring is such a huge beast of a feature that I definitely will not be able to cover it in the next 5-10 minutes. So thanks for the question. Um, so that's all I had today. I'm just going to give a second to see if I've answered all the questions here. All right. Uh, there was one slide which had I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find the slide which gave you the QR code. Let me do this. Sorry, I missed that slide about the QR code, but uh, this is the website. You can go to Cast AI. If you click on sign in, it'll ask you to do there's a simple form that you can fill out and you can try this product on your own if you want to. And for those who have already signed in or have an account and you're trying this product out for cost optimization, if you're not able to turn on the security features, if you're not able to see some of the security features that I've discussed so far, please contact us through Slack or email. One person already asked that question. So please do let us know if you're not able to check this out and try this security solution. So it's been great talking to you all. Thanks for all the questions, and I hope to see you in the next webinar.